Our next speaker is going to be Dr. Merrie Fox, who's running for State Senate District 5. And Merrie spoke to our group earlier this year. Was anybody here to hear that? And so it's great to have her back with us again. Appreciate you making the time for us. So a little bit about Merrie. If you'll remember, our theme for this meeting was education and the environment. So we've kind of got it loaded up with educators. Merrie, in fact, is a veteran educator. She worked in public schools for 31 years as both a teacher and a campus principal. And after retiring, I think last year, was it? She now works as the executive director for Circle Arts Theater in New Braunfels. And during her tenure as a public school principal, all three of her campuses achieved high state ratings, and she received multiple honors and awards for her work. And Merrie has lived in the Texas Hill Country for more than 40 years. She and her wife Lisa have raised two children who graduated from Comal ISD, so she had that investment of children in the school district. And she volunteers with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Family Promise, and Riverside Pride. Dr. Fox earned a BS degree from Southwest Texas, back when it was called that, in 1992. A master's degree in 2003 from Texas State University in Education Administration, and a PhD from North Central University in 2018 with a focus on educational leadership. So let's please welcome our next state senator, Dr. Merrie Fox.
Good afternoon. How is everybody today?
Great.
Awesome. Y'all mind if I just if I take this off? I'm a walking it kind of girl.
Yeah, let me get those up.
Okay.
Let me get those wires done for you so you can walk around a little
Yeah,
bit.
can I have a round of applause again for Vicki Goodwin?
There you go. That's how
Thank
much.
you
That's
so
how many
much.
feet you have.
Awesome. I can work with that. I'm going to fangirl a little bit. Vicki Goodwin, to me, is the best thing since sliced bread in 2 years. No matter what happens with my race, I am holding out for Lieutenant Governor Goodwin sitting right here with us. And I want to work on your campaign, by the way. Just put that in right now. Thank y'all so much for having me here today. I apologize for coming in late. Y'all, it's a long way from New Braunfels up here. Woo! I thought 2 hours was enough, but you got to go through Austin, so I'll learn one of these days. As you know, I'm Dr. Merrie Fox, and I'm running for Senate District 25 against Donna Campbell. So I spent 31 years, as you heard, in public education as a teacher and as a school principal. Loved it, best job ever. Middle school's my jam. Elementary scares the dog out of me. Those kids are little. When I always say I did my 8 years in elementary, and that was plenty. I can lay it on the line to a 14-year-old. A 5-year-old, y'all, for real. One of the things I learned: don't wear white on Spaghetti Day, and don't tie shoelaces if they're wet and it has not been raining. Those are my serious, literal takeaways from my time in elementary school. Raise your hand if you worked in education in any capacity. Woo! Round of applause. Yeah. I always say, jewels in your crown. You get to go straight through. I retired a year ago, and I decided to jump into politics. I am not a politician, and that may be why I fangirl just a little bit. Vicki's got it all together. I do not, y'all. I got a sick dog at home. My wife's out of town. We're opening a show. We opened a show last night. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I put makeup on today? I don't know. But I'm here, and that's kind of the point. I want to serve the people of Senate District 25 and ultimately the people of Texas, as Vicki talked about, because what comes through that state Senate and the House impacts everybody in our amazing state. So I decided to jump into politics a year after retiring because for 10 years, Donna Campbell has been in the Senate, and her policies and the policies coming from the state, many of them directly impacted the work that I was doing as a campus principal with our kids and our staff and our communities. And it was really important to me. And there were several times I went to meet with her. I called her office, the district office, and at the Senate. I just wanted to talk. I didn't want to argue. I just wanted to talk. Like I wanted to say, hey, I understand that there's some legislation that's being pinned and may come through and may go to committee or whatever, and I just want to talk about what those policies, if passed, would look like on a school campus, because sometimes those are two different things. It looks really good on paper, but when you live it, it's completely different. The problem was I never could get to her. I couldn't get her by phone, I couldn't get her by email, I couldn't get her in person, appointment or not. And that was frustrating to me because she's a public servant and she should serve everybody. And I have heard over and over that that is not the case. So here I am. And as a candidate, my number one, of course, as a retired school principal, on my platform is public education. I believe it is the foundation of our democracy and the backbone of our communities. And it is so crazy important. And as all of you know, I know because you are engaged in the political process, right? You know that public ed has been kind of under attack for a good long while. There's not been a raise since 2019. That raise in 2019, oh my gosh, so appreciated, very much appreciated. Retired teachers got COLAs, the basic allotment went up. It was so very helpful. However, prior to that, it had been years before there had been any funding. So while that extra money in 2019 was so very helpful, it did not get us anywhere near being able to fight the inflation, even at that point, that was already there. And think about this, that's been 5 years ago, y'all, 5 years. Since then, we've had a pandemic, inflation is crazy, but schools have not received any extra money, and they still have to buy paper, they still have to turn the lights on and pay the AC bill, and so they're struggling. And you may have read in the paper that they are thinking about how to deal with these deficit budgets. And so you have to think if a school is running out of money, or not running out of money, but they don't have enough funding to support the staffing and the programs that they have, what gets cut? Well, the staffing and the programs, right? So I have doctor in my name because I earned a PhD in educational leadership. My skill set is building collaborative teams, making data-driven decisions that are best for kids, primarily for communities, families, and our staff. Donna also has doctor in her name because she earned an MD in ophthalmology. Really important work, I appreciate it. However, when she earned that MD, she took an oath to do no harm. To do no harm. And when I think about public education and the state that it is already in, and then the thought of vouchers coming in scares the crap out of me. Scares me as a citizen, as a retired principal, certainly. There are already 329,000 kids in the state of Texas who go to private school, right? And so the state is the last bill that was filed in November or whatever. I don't know all the process it is, right? But the last bill that came through said that we were going to give the state would give $8,000 per child who wanted to go to private school. Mind you, students who go to public school, the state pays $6,160. So there's problem number one. But when you talk about 329,000 students already attending private school at $8,000 a student, you're talking about $2.6 billion out of our Texas budget. Now, in all fairness, that's not going to come out right away because they're going to phase this in. But we know what that's going to look like, right? It's going to be millions and more millions and then billions. And so if vouchers pass, I don't know why I'm so out of breath, the conversation that you need to have with anybody involved in education, whether it's your family or your local school districts or your policymakers, is this: what are we going to cut? Because that's where it's going to be. Class sizes are going to go up. Those programs that we love and care about, music and art and theater, those programs that some kids stay in school for, they only come to school because they can do those things, are going to have to be cut if vouchers pass. It is so incredibly crucial. It is not a partisan issue. This is not about being red or blue or Democrat or Republican. When you think about Greg Abbott really, really wants these vouchers but why, right? So Jeff Yass in Pennsylvania gave Abbott $10 million to help get vouchers passed in the state of Texas. So you have to wonder, why the heck would Jeff Yass in Pennsylvania care if there are vouchers in the state of Texas? Well, because we are going to privatize education, which means there's a profit margin there, which means that people can open schools and you get $8,000 per child that comes to your school. You don't have to account to the state for curriculum, for outcomes, for spending, nothing. And I'm going to be a little bit silly for a minute, but if I loved Harry Potter and I wanted to open my sweet little school and I could talk 10 parents into sending their kids to me, 10 parents, or 10 kids. Oh, I'm being timed? Oh, girl. Oh, man. I gotta speed this up. Okay. Okay, thank you. So let me get my train of thought. So if I opened my little school and I got $8,000 per student because these parents were like, sure, I think that's a great idea. And I wanted to teach these kids how to be wizards because I think that's super cool. And so do their parents. I get to do that. And the state's gonna pay me $80,000 of state funds, your tax money, to do that. And that is not okay. That's why public funds belong in public schools, because they benefit the public, right? Do no harm. When I think about women's rights, and I'll say this really quickly, I'm a woman in the United States of America and I'm not free. What? I am not free. The definition of enslaved is I don't have control over my body. Particularly if you are of childbearing age, you are a citizen in the United States without full freedom, and that is not okay. Do no harm. The last thing I'll talk about, because Vicki mentioned it and I think it's so important, oh my gosh, there's the environment, there's so many things. Campbell did vote for Senate Bill 1280, I believe it was, that would have that creates charter climate charters that allows more local control for entities to be able to help the water situation in their areas. Campbell does not want that. She takes money from Leonard for the Leonard developers. And so she doesn't want there to be as much local control as we need in order to preserve our water. I wanted to touch one last thing on Ken Paxton, and this is why I bring him up. One, because it pisses me off, and two, because of this, because Ken Paxton has been given so much leeway with all of these, with so many things, particularly here lately, filing suit against Bexar County, Travis County, Harris County, because those councils have decided to hire a company to help people get registered to vote. Not help Democrats get registered to vote, help people get registered to vote. And he sued them because he doesn't want people to vote. And the reason I bring all of that up is because while I have not spent my career fighting for voters' rights, I was principaling at the time, it is so incredibly important to me. I named my sweet little Jeep outside Good Trouble after John Lewis, because sometimes you just gotta get in a little good trouble. I think voting is a basic American right. I don't know why it's so hard to vote. I think everybody over the 18, if you pay taxes, you should get to vote. Anyway, but the reason I bring Ken Paxton up is this. He's got an incredible amount of power. And when the House brought articles of impeachment for him, the Senate not only said, we're gonna acquit him, he's fine. There were a group of senators who even refused to listen to that information. They didn't even want to hear it. And so I think about you know, who's above the law? And we all know where that is in DC, but here in Texas, who's above the law? Kim Paxton. And Kim Paxton wants to keep red Republican policies in place. So again, do no harm. I want to serve the people of Senate District 25. I want to serve the people of Texas. So I'm asking you, Dr. Merrie Fox, check the box for Fox and help me bring Donna Campbell to the principal's office.